Hello friends and welcome to art. This video is an intro to 1-point and 2-point perspective drawing inspired by our continued look into Mickalene Thomas's work and also the work of Do Ho Sa. Alright, to make our 1-point perspective drawing, we need a piece of paper, any kind is fine, and 2 markers, one that's lighter in color, one that's darker in color. For sake of ease, maybe just use what I'm using, so an orange marker and a black marker for this practice. So the first step you're gonna want to do is we're gonna want to have a line that goes from this corner to this corner, or a fold that goes from this corner to this corner, and then a fold that goes from this corner to this corner. So to do that, we will roll over our paper to where it meets at each point. Just like that. Doesn't have to be perfect, but pretty close to where these make points. We'll go ahead and make a fold there. Great. We'll unfold that. Then we're going to do the same thing. We want a crease that goes from this corner to this corner. So we will fold over until points are made on either corner or either end. Just like that. Okay, we'll fold over. Great. Okay, so now we'll open that back up. And we have 2 creases that intersect at the center of our paper. Great. So we're going to start with our lighter colored marker, in this case our orange marker, and the marks that we make with our orange marker are not meant to be permanent marks. They're just what will help us make our final drawing, which we'll do with our black marker. So, that being said, if you make a mark that you're like, oops, with your orange, that is fine, because our final marks will be made with the black. So we are going to make a square in the center of our paper that connects on each of the 4 creases that we have. So the endpoints of the square or rectangle are going to be on those creases. So I put little dots on those creases to sort of be my guiding area. Okay. Now you're going to go over the creases that you made with your orange marker, but not the creases that are inside the square. So you're going to go over the creases, but only the creases that are outside of the square. Ta-da! Ta-da! Great. All right. So now what we have is a floor, a ceiling, and 2 walls. And this is the end of the hallway or space. Woo! So this actually is a 1-point perspective drawing already, but to help us understand that a little better, we can add some details. So let's go ahead and add a door to this wall. So to make a door with your orange marker, make a dot that is about that far away from this top line. So maybe an inch or about that much of a finger, half of a finger. Doesn't matter. Doesn't have to be perfect, but a dot that is about that far away from this top line. Okay, here's why. You will need a straight edge for this step. I'm sorry I didn't mention that at the beginning. So if you need to pause the video to get a straight edge, that is fine. A straight edge can be a piece of paper. A straight edge can be a folder. Anything that has a straight edge, just like this folder right here has a straight edge. And what you're gonna do with that straight edge is you are going to have one point of it be right on that intersecting point in the center of your paper where your crease is intersected, and it is going to follow from that point to the dot that you just made in orange or your light color. So you'll line up your straight edge to go through that intersecting crease and that dot that you just made. And then from that intersecting crease, that point, you can make an orange line to that dot you just made. Ta-da! Great. So look like that. Remember, these orange lines are not permanent lines, so we will go over our permanent lines in black. So now to make our door, it's about the same thickness as this space right here, the space in between this orange line and the orange line you just made. So we're gonna make a straight line from this point, and we're going to follow it straight down, a vertical line up and down till we hit this line down here. Great. You can use your straight edge for this if you want, or you can just eyeball it. So I eyeballed this one. I have lines on my paper, which actually is helpful in this case. And then I'm gonna make a straight line about the same width or the same distance apart here as from this line. So I'm gonna make a line from this line going straight down boop, to this line. Awesome. So we're now ready to see our basic 1-point perspective space take shape. So I'm gonna show you what we go over with our black marker. So we are gonna go over our square with black. Nice. We're gonna go over those marks that we made on our creases. So anywhere there's a crease that is outside of your rectangular square. Great. And we're gonna go over those two vertical lines we made, those two vertical straight lines that are roughly 1 inch apart from each other. Cool. And we're gonna go over the line that connects those two straight lines. So this line, but only in between those two vertical lines, like this. Stop here. So this orange line is something we don't need anymore, but notice because it's a light color, it sort of fades away and our eyes focus on the black. So I'm gonna add a few decorations here so it'll be even clearer what we're looking at. I'm gonna add a doorknob, and I'm also going to add a door on this square wall. I'm gonna make a double door actually. Ta-da! So this is our ceiling, this is our floor, these are our two walls that recede or get smaller as they go back further into space in this hallway. And at the end of the hallway, we see two doors, but they're smaller than this door because they're further away. Ta-da! You have successfully made a 1-point perspective drawing of an interior space. I am going to go ahead and speed up this camera and show you some more elements that you can add using this trick where we line up a straight edge with the center of our paper and other points on our paper. And you can pause when you need to see what I'm doing. But if you get to this point, you successfully made a 1-point perspective drawing of an interior space. Great work. Right, so you can see here that I added a window to this wall, some doors to this wall, and I made some circles up here, or some ovals, to look like lights on the ceiling, which kind of help us see a little more that this is an interior space. And also notice how the orange marks, we don't necessarily focus on. Our eyes can look at the black marks separately. A more advanced step of this is understanding that as things go further back, so for example doors, they do get smaller. So not only do they get shorter, but they also get narrower because they're further away, and things that are further away appear smaller. And we will see how this goes in live instruction and definitely move towards those more challenging aspects of 1-point perspective. But I'm super excited to get this started, and I know you'll do great. Okay, so now we are going to make a 2-point perspective drawing of an exterior space, or an outside space. And we are going to use, again, a light color and a dark color marker. So orange and black for sake of ease, and a piece of paper. I think maybe if you have lined paper, that would be cool to use because we can use the straight edges or the lines for straight edges. No worries if not. And also go ahead and have that straight edge handy so we can use it. So the first thing we're going to need to do is we are going to, oh, Oriole's stopping by, fold our paper in half, hot dog style. Or hamburger style actually, because we're going to need to fold it both ways, because we're going to want a crease going across the center of our paper this way and across the center of our paper this way. So I'll fold hamburger style first. Hamburger looks kind of like a hamburger bun. I mean, not really, it's a rectangle. A hamburger bun is a circle, but I think the hot dog bun makes more sense. So the hot dog bun is long and narrow, general shape of a hot dog bun. I don't know where that started. Hot dog bun, hamburger bun, paper fold. Curious. Okay, so we folded it in half both ways to where we have a crease going down the center both ways and a center point where those creases meet. So now what we are going to want to do is we are going to put a dot with our orange marker about half a finger's worth, let's say, so that center knuckle, half a finger's worth down from the edge of the paper on the crease, and this should go on the hot dog side. So that means the crease that is in the longer, narrower section of the paper instead of the shorter section of the paper. Hopefully visually that makes sense better than me verbally describing it. So dot on the long side of the paper, half of a finger length in from the edge. And we'll do the same thing on the other side. So half of my finger, and I'll go on the crease. Great. So now that we have those two dots, here's our next step. We're going to use that straight edge, and we are going to connect these dots to these points at the edge of the paper where the crease is. So I'm going to line up my straight edge to meet this point that we made on that crease, this fold, and I will make sure, looking back and forth, making sure they're both lined up. They look good. I connect those dots. Ta-da! So we're gonna do that all the way around. So I'm gonna connect this dot to this point, making sure that both sides line up before I make my mark. Okay. Notice how I'm holding down my straight edge, trying to hold it down at multiple pressure points instead of just over here so it doesn't slide around. If I hold it like this, it won't move around when I'm making my line. Okay, so we're gonna do the same thing over on this side. I'm gonna line up those two dots, make sure they're both lined up before I make my mark. Hold down my straight edge. Good. And then we're gonna do our last line. Make sure those two marks line up. Great. Cool. All right, so now we have this diamond, and you are going to next connect these two dots. So on that center crease, we'll connect those two dots. Remember, our orange is just our prep lines, and then we'll outline final lines in black. Okay. So, next, you are going to put a vertical line. If you're using lined paper, you can use one of the lines, or half of a finger's length in from either of these edges. We're gonna make a vertical line. I'm gonna use lines that are on my paper. So right there, and right here. Great. It's like, what is this? It is actually a 2-point perspective drawing already, but let's make that a little clearer. So, about an inch in from this top line, we're gonna start making a door. An inch in, an inch over, we're gonna make a dot. So that means this far down from this angled line, and this far in from this vertical line in the center of our paper, and put a dot. And we're gonna connect this dot to this point right here at the end of our paper where the crease is. So I'm gonna line up my straight edge, and we are gonna put those together. Okay. Now we are going to make a vertical line that goes from this dot to this angled line below it. Cool. Now we're going to go over about an inch. I'm not using a ruler, I just kind of use my knuckle to the tip of my finger as an inch guess. So we're going to go over an inch, and from that angled line that we had just made, we're going to make a vertical line that goes straight down to this angled line. Okay, we have the basics. So we can go ahead and outline our final lines with black. Hello, Oreo. Oh, yes. She's been so sweet today. Okay, she's always sweet. So go ahead and get your black marker. And we are going to outline that center vertical line that we made. We are going to outline those two vertical lines we just made. We're going to outline those vertical lines that are closer to the edge of our paper. Great. Now we're going to outline some angled lines. So we are going to connect this, the furthest out vertical line, with this center vertical line. So we won't outline with black anything beyond this vertical line. Same thing over here. We won't outline anything past this vertical line. Okay, so we've outlined that line. Now we can outline this angled line stopping here. Ta-da! We can outline this angled line, stopping here. Ta-da! And we can outline this angled line, stopping here. Great. And now we are going to connect these two vertical lines by outlining that angled line right there. Great. And to make this a little clearer for you, this is our doorway. I'm going to put a doorknob on it. Ta-da! You have created a 2-point perspective building. So you're looking at two walls, two exterior walls at the same time. To maybe make it even clearer, if it isn't yet, let's try adding a peaked roof. So I'm gonna get my orange marker out again, and I'm gonna look at this angled line and try and eyeball the center mark in between these two vertical lines. I think right about here on the angled line. So I'm gonna hop up and put a orange dot right up here. So about 2 knuckles width away from the center point of this angled line. Boop. If my words are confusing, I do not blame you. Sometimes I confuse myself. So you can pause the video and really pay attention to where I'm putting this dot in relationship to this line. Okay, so now we're gonna use our straight edge to connect this dot to these points. So this point where the vertical line and angled line meet, and this point where this vertical line and angled line meet. Okay, make sure both are lined up. Great. Do the same thing over here, make sure both are lined up. Great. Okay. So now we're going to connect this point to this point all the way over here at the end of our paper where the crease is. Great. Okay. Now this last step is a little tricky and difficult for me to explain, but I'll try. So you see this angle here. We want to try and recreate the same angle, so that same slant from this point to this orange line. So I'm gonna go over this line one time so my body kind of feels, my hand kind of feels what angle it is. And then I'm going to make that same angle here to this orange line. It's kind of difficult to see in there. And it's okay if you don't get this perfect, because that's a very tricky thing that Mr. Barber's still learning how to describe best. So next, we're going to go over our final lines to show us this roof that we're creating. So you'll go over that triangle that you created with those two angled lines meeting up with this angled line. You will go over that line that is this same angle, but connecting this point to this orange line. So right here, again, a little tricky, so don't worry if that one comes out different than this. And then you will connect this point to this point, the peak of our roof. You can use a straight edge or just eyeball it if you're feeling confident. Ta-da! So looking at this, you now have a building that you're looking at two walls of at the same time. Here's a wall with a door, here's another wall, and it has a peaked roof. Here's the roof. This is a 2-point perspective drawing, meaning it recedes into space or gets smaller at 2 points, and those 2 points are at the edge of our paper. Whereas our 1 point perspective drawing, right here, can we see that? Yeah, I'm trying to show you both at the same time. Recedes into space or gets smaller at 1 point in the center of our paper. So that's why we call this 1 point perspective and 2 point perspective. And the reason we call it perspective is depending on where we're standing, we perceive things to be larger or smaller depending on how close or far away they are from us. Yes! Cool, so I'll show you one more thing you can do with these spaces that might excite you. All right, so I have some paper here left over from another project, and I'm going to draw some people, simple people. It doesn't have to be complicated, but of different sizes. So some that are medium, some that are small, some that are larger, make a couple of those. Maybe I'll make 2 people standing together, laughing, having a good time. These are larger ones too. Great. Maybe I'll make another medium person. Waving. Hello. Cool. All right. So go ahead and kind of cut close to the people, but you don't have to like cut them out exactly, you know what I mean? I just made some stick figures. It'll make sense. If you're like, what are you talking about, Mr. Barber? It'll make sense what I'm doing here, hopefully. Okay. Beep beep boop. Biddy bop bop bop. I hear some of you singing sometimes when you're making your art. I'm like, I feel that. I do that. Beep 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 beep. Okay. All right. So now we have our people cut out. And here's what you can do with your people and those 1 and 2 point perspective drawings that you just made. So here's my 1 point perspective drawing. And I'm going to place people inside of it to where it makes sense. So larger people appear closer or are closer to us. They appear larger. We perceive them to be larger when they are closer. So I'm gonna also show that they're closer by having them lower on this floor. So lower on the picture plane. Compared to somebody who is medium-sized, we perceive people sort of far away, but not super far away, to be medium in size. So I'm going to have them slightly higher up on the floor or higher up from the bottom of the page than these people. So it looks like this person's a little further back down in the hallway and these people are closer. Same for this medium-sized person, maybe like right there. And now my small person, we perceive people to be smaller when they are furthest away from us. So I'm also going to place them higher, even higher than these medium-sized people on the floor. So they won't be up here on the ceiling flying, or they could be, but they'll still be on the floor, but they're pretty much right at these doorways way back here. So including those people help us even better understand that we are looking at a space that is receding into space or getting smaller the further back it goes. So let's try placing our people on our 2 point perspective piece. All right. So larger people, or people appear larger when they are closer to us. So they'll be closer to the bottom of our page, like this maybe. So they're about to, you know, maybe walk into this door. Medium person would be higher up from the base of the page, and then a little further back, like so. And then smaller people who appear smaller are further away, so they are closer to the receding points and higher up on the picture. But not above the center fold. Ta-da! So this person appears pretty far away. These people are closest to us, the viewer, and this person is sort of in between. So this may be a little trickier than we are prepared for yet, and that is totally fine, but I just thought I'd show you if you kind of want to experiment and see if you can add elements to your 1 and 2 point perspective pieces. I'm so excited to do this live in class with you and work through it. It can be tricky, but it is so gratifying to accomplish. All right, can't wait to see what you make. Bye for now, my friends.